Day 328 of the Trump administration, a day when the president and Republican Party leaders are grappling with a new political reality, that a Democrat could run for and win a Senate seat in deep red Alabama. Doug Jones' victory over Republican Roy Moore came by way of a sweeping and multiracial voting coalition. Nothing short of it. Jones spoke about that and about reaching across the political divide earlier today.
I have received calls from so many well-wishers of friends and family, but also future colleagues in Washington on both sides of the aisle. I have received calls from Democratic senators. I've received calls from my longtime friend, Senator Shelby, Leader McConnell, Leader Schumer, and calls from the President of the United States, President Trump. This election shows that people across this country, want to see people work together.
Alabama's senior senator, Richard Shelby, the Republican who refused to vote for Roy Moore, today reacted to Doug Jones' victory.
Well, the people of Alabama spoke. I told him that I look forward to working with him up here for great interest of the nation and the people of Alabama.
Do you take any credit for the idea that Doug Jones was elected and Roy Moore lost?
No. I'm a Republican. I wrote in a Republican. I didn't vote for a Democrat. Wouldn't.
This election, let's not forget, was something of a reckoning for Donald Trump, who heartily endorsed and campaigned for Roy Moore.
Get out and vote for Roy Moore.
Hi, this is President Donald Trump, and I need Alabama to go vote for Roy Moore.
But today, the president actually found a way to say, "I told you so." He put this on Twitter. Quote, "The reason I originally endorsed Luther Strange and his numbers went up mightily is that I said Roy Moore will not be able to win the general election. I was right. Roy worked hard, but the deck was stacked against him." And this is how the president reacted to the loss before cameras earlier today.
I would have, as the leader of the party, I would have liked to have had the seat.
How could that loss affect your agenda going forward?
I don't think it's going to affect it. I think we're doing a lot.
Ashley Parker of the Washington Post, who joins us in just a moment, reports on the mood in the White House today. She writes, quote, "By Wednesday morning, as Trump watched the unflattering portrait of the loss unfold on television, the president grew piqued at the notion that he somehow was responsible. Quote, I won Alabama, and I would have won Alabama again," Trump said, according to a senior administration official. The president himself spread the blame. He faulted his former chief strategist, Stephen K. Bannon, for selling him what one outside advisor described as a bill of goods in urging him to support Moore, and he faulted Moore himself for being an abysmal candidate. He had campaigned with Moore in Alabama as part of his own effort to take down the Republican establishment Bannon had. Today, Bannon was also under fire from some in that same establishment for backing a candidate who lost a Senate seat that had been in Republican hands, let's not forget, for 2 decades.
I don't think Steve Bannon adds anything positive at all to the dialogue in the country. To see him on the stage this week with the big American flag behind him, he looked like some disheveled drunk that wandered in off the street. To have him become the face of politics, or to have a major voice in politics, I think is wrong. I think we should shut him.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has been under regular attack from Steve Bannon. Don't forget, Bannon has threatened him by saying, "We're coming for you." Here is what McConnell aide Josh Holmes told Politico about Bannon and this Alabama election. Quote, "He's proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that he has no capacity to run a U.S. Senate race. If he's capable of losing the reddest state in the nation, he's capable of losing anywhere." Other Republican senators expressed their feelings today about Moore's loss, and there was almost from some a sense of relief.
Strange to say, I guess, from my side of the aisle, but I thought it was a great night for America. So I couldn't be more happy. The people of Alabama responded, I thought, in a very appropriate way.
Alabamans didn't want somebody who dated 14-year-old girls. You need good candidates to win Senate races, yeah.
I hope it sends a message that, we can do better. Republicans can do better.
Three interesting Republican reactions there. And from the great state of New Jersey, a new Monmouth poll seems to highlight Senator Flake's comment there that Republicans can do better. The president's job approval rating stands at 32%, way underwater. Looking ahead to 2018, 51% of people said they would vote for the generic Democratic candidate in their district if elections were held today. 36% Republican. All of it brings us to our leadoff panel on a post-election Wednesday night. Jeremy Peters, political reporter for the New York Times and an MSNBC contributor. The aforementioned Ashley Parker, White House reporter for the Washington Post and an MSNBC political analyst. And David Jolly is back with us, former Republican member of Congress from Florida. Jeremy, this has gone better than expected inside the White House. Your paper is out with similar reporting tonight, though there's no shortage, I guess, of blame to go around.
No, there's not, and that's because Republicans across the spectrum don't recognize their party. You heard that in the voices of Jeff Flake and Bob Corker, who expressed just utter disgust at the fact that the Republican Party could even nominate somebody like Roy Moore. And you have people on the other side of the, call it the Steve Bannon, Trumpism spectrum of the party, that don't understand why leaders in their own party would openly advocate for the election of a Democrat. So this election, while it resolves one messy dispute for the moment, I think, Brian, has only opened even further the deep wounds within the Republican Party right now.
Ashley, another great night of reporting for you. Were you surprised that there wasn't more of an internal West Wing rage going on? And where do you put the status of the blame game?
I will say not only was I surprised, but more importantly, a number of Trump's own aides were surprised. When I talked to them last night, right after the results, they were all bracing for sort of what has now become a pattern of watching TV, getting enraged, fuming, and the ensuing chaos. But in fact, the president was maybe saying he handled it with a note of grace, might be a bit of an overstatement, but he was relatively calm and he seemed sort of at peace with the decision of the Alabama voters. And what we saw with him saying publicly was also what he said privately, that he's sort of willing to just move on and look ahead. In terms of blame, you're exactly right. There's a lot of blame to go around. The three people I heard that the president is most acutely blaming is Mitch McConnell, because he's frustrated that he got in and sort of too aggressively tried to push out more. He's frustrated with Steve Bannon, as I wrote, because he thinks he sold him this bill of goods, and the president was convinced to support Moore, in part because of Bannon's promises that Moore could win. And finally, he's upset with Moore himself. He's certainly blaming Moore, and he's not incorrect in saying that Moore was a quite awful candidate.
David Jolly, our mutual friend Nicole Wallace, likes to say of Senator Corker, he has had the truth serum of knowing he's not running for re-election. It is still bracing to hear him say that last night was a great night for America. I'll put the same question to you. For the Republican Party you know and love, do you think last night was good for that Republican Party?
Oh, of course. It was good for the country, but also good for the party, because Roy Moore would have become the second most popular face of the Republican Party going into 2018 if he had won. But listen, the reason Trump and a lot of Republicans, I think, are breathing a sigh of relief tonight and not as worried as we think they should be is they don't see Roy Moore as an example of what we're looking at in 2018. Very likely, Roy Moore is the worst candidate we will see in the 2018 cycle. We know that. The House has insulated their vulnerable members through gerrymandering. In the Senate, Democrats have to defend 25 seats. Republicans only have to defend 8 or 9 seats. But what Republican insiders are overlooking are two very important things. We will see more bad candidates come forward. Steve Bannon has already met with Michael Grimm in New York, who left office to serve time in federal prison and now wants to run for Congress again. We're seeing a Senate candidate in Arizona who is speaking with little eloquence, if we're being generous. But here's the other thing they're overlooking, and this is the most important thing we saw last night. The energy on the left is incredible right now. We saw it in Virginia. We saw it in New Jersey. The energy on the left to get out and vote. Listen, you can't make voters get out and turn out to vote if they don't want to. The left is looking to vote right now. They are eager to get to 2018 and vote. The right is exhausted, and they are burdened by a president with 32% approval ratings.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.